Okay, here we go. Well, I think this is a really good build and transition off of Patricia's amazing remarks, because I was going to say, the world is changing. And I think with Patricia's presentation on AI, that's becoming very, very obvious. You may not be surprised. You probably don't follow the science quite as much as I do as a climate expert, but you may be surprised to know that this summer was the hottest on record. In fact, July 22nd was the hottest day globally ever on record. Here in Vegas this summer, they were busting records with heat. 107.6 degrees Fahrenheit was the average high temperature. That just blows my mind, right? So clearly the world is changing. And when the world changes, companies have to change too, right? So what I do in my business, my name's Ashley, by the way. I'm a consultant, a corporate sustainability consultant with Coefficient. And what I do in my business is I advise companies on how to change on that sustainability pathway, on that sustainability journey. Now, when we think about sustainability and we think about what it means for a business to change, it doesn't just mean protecting the planet. It really means protecting business. It really means continuing to be able to thrive and succeed as a business in this changing world. And sustainability is evolving too. Sustainability used to be considered kind of a good charity that companies could do. Then it became kind of this thing where, okay, it's about companies just doing less bad stuff, having less pollution. Now, sustainability is really about driving value. How can a company bring sustainability into its purpose, into its business model, and actually drive value and competitiveness with that element as their competitive edge, as the thing that helps them stand apart, as the thing that helps them meet their customers' needs, their consumers' needs, and really be the winning company in their field? There's a company here that is sponsoring a DP World, and they ran a survey recently. They ran a survey of the logistics and supply chain industry, and it was clear that this industry is really picking up on that message, that sustainability is a key value driver. 82% of respondents agreed that sustainability ultimately improves financial performance for companies. And I think that this is, in part because of this growing realization that the world is changing. So we are going to hear from two real avengers in this sustainability space, two leaders who are working for companies that have embraced this idea that sustainability really is a value driver and are using that to lead in their company. David Reese from Who Gives a Crap. That is, in fact, a real company name, and David's going to tell us all about it. And Mawuse Ziegbe from Camper. Okay, so let's go ahead and get to know them and hear about their experiences. Mawuse and David, maybe you can tell us a bit about your business and how is sustainability really incorporated into that purpose and driving that value for your company? And maybe we'll start with you, David, so we can tell everybody what Who Gives a Crap is.
Sure. Testing the mic. Everybody hear me? Good. It has a nice echo there. So Who Gives a Crap? Most of you may not have heard of the brand if you're here in America because it's a relatively new brand. But we sell good-looking, environmentally friendly toilet paper, paper towels, facial tissues. We also sell plastic-free body, hair, and face bars. And as of last week, we have a recycled content trash bag, pet bags, and a compostable food bag for waste that's now in the market as well. So it's very important for us, thinking about sustainability into our products. That's really the ethos of who we are as a company. We're a B Corp, and we donate 50% of our profits to fund toilets around the globe and provide fresh water and a place to go for the 2 billion people in the world that don't have a workable, clean toilet or clean water at their home. So that's very important for us. And we use either bamboo or recycled fiber in our tissue products. And if you're like me, you probably never thought about toilet paper and how it's made before I joined Who Gives a Crap. I hadn't. But let me walk you through that process. It's very energy and water intensive to take what most of the world does. They take a tree, they turn it into pulp using lots of water and energy. That pulp is then spread really thin on a little sheet that goes really fast around a big drum that's superheated and dries it instantaneously and turns it into these giant tissue rolls that are then cut up into the small toilet paper rolls that you see on the shelf. That takes a lot of water, it takes a lot of energy in that process. So it's important when the world is cutting down 1 million trees every day, 1 million trees every day to make toilet paper, of all things, we think that's pretty crappy. So we've built our company around building better materials and doing it in a better way. And in that energy process, we get to do fun things with our suppliers that we'll talk a little bit about. But using recycled fibers instead of a tree to make toilet paper, it uses about 30% less water. So it's right out the gate more sustainable. And we love to make our products look good. We have really vibrant paper wrapped rolls. All of our products are plastic free. So our customers really love that we make it very fun to talk about a very complex but difficult subject sometimes, but we make it very easy to do good.
I think you, in addition to your clear passion for helping people throughout the world, I think you probably took this job in order to be able to make these silly jokes. Is that fair?
A lot of emojis, toilet puns. We have
I think you made
emojis in our
3.
contracts. Holy crap.
Mawuse, what about you? Tell us about Camper and how sustainability builds value for you.
Great, thank you very much. My name is Mawuse Ziegbe, and I'm the regional director for Camper in the Americas, looking after North and South America. So I'm more on the commercial side. I'm not really looking after logistics and operations, but of course it is instrumental to everything that we do. So Camper is a Spanish footwear company. We've actually been around for a long time. It'll be 50 years next year. So we're actually more of a heritage business versus Who Gives a Crap. And actually from the beginning, sustainability has been kind of fused into the core. Camper is a Catalan word that means farmer. A lot of people don't realize that. And that's really because the island where it's from, Mallorca, is very rural. And so the very first shoe was made of recycled materials. It was made of like canvas and tire treads, things that you would find on a farm. That's how they made the first shoe. So sustainability was really part of the core of the business, kind of out of necessity initially. And that has been sort of part of, I would say, like some of the beacons that have been driving the business ever since. And now we're gonna, celebrate 50 years moving forward. And so I would say for Camper, a lot of sustainability really does come from creativity as well. I would say it's not necessarily just, lip service, but like, for example, these shoes I have here, which are, they're made of like a single piece of EVA, and you can recycle them at the end of its life. But it didn't start out that way. It was just like a, fun, cool shoe inspired by a snake. And then we're like, okay, well, how do we make this style really, really like reduce its impact on the environment and really take it up in terms of the storytelling and in terms of, the value proposition that we bring to the world as a manufacturing business as well. So.
Love that. And I am going to search for those shoes on the internet as soon as we leave this event. I have some experience in this space. I was the chief sustainability officer of Oatly, and like your two companies, Oatly is a very disruptive company trying to produce things in a different way, in this case, oat milk. And I really saw just this incredible demand for these kinds of products. Maybe, Mawuse, could you just tell us a little bit more about the demand drivers and like what's actually, sort of fueling your company to be able to bring sustainability in?
Yeah, so that's a really great question because, we're talking about sustainability really driving sales and profit as well. So one thing that's interesting is that 61% of our sales last year came from products that have sustainable attributes. The year before that, it was 54%. Before that, so we're really seeing that these sustainable styles, and these are, things made with recycled materials, monomaterial processes, things, that we can really speak to, sustainability, are really resonating with our customer as well. It's not just like, something that we're doing for fun, we're seeing a real business impact as well.
And David, what about you? For Who Gives a Crap, where do you see that resonance with your customers and consumers? How are you seeing that play out?
As I mentioned, our customers really buy into the fact that they're with a very everyday process. Hopefully, you're doing something very good for the environment, and but maybe beyond that, eco products that actually work are really important, because a lot of people think that they have to make a compromise, to do something good for the environment. But our toilet paper is super soft, strong, absorbent. Paper towels clean up messes. You can blow the heck out of your nose with our tissues, and our trash bags don't leak. They're very strong. Those type of things are very important to consumers, to make sure that what you're doing in a good way still is very functional for them as employees or as customers. And then the other aspects of being able to use our products in very creative ways. The kids and adults come up with very creative ways to use the wrappers and give it a third life. Whether it be artwork, creative things to put on the fridge for the kids, seen a dress made out of toilet paper wrappers before. So just a lot of really creative ways, and that creative message is an easy way to have, again, those difficult conversations, but do it in a fun way with our customers.
Yeah, I like your emphasis on the fact that, people want to feel good about the products. They want that sustainable benefit, but they also don't want to sacrifice the product itself. They want it to still work just like a traditional product would. They want it to be just as cool as shoes that they could buy that weren't made from reusable materials, things like that. So I think that's a really good point. We are at a logistics and supply chain conference, so maybe let's turn a little bit toward the supplier side. Also, in this survey that I mentioned by DP World, 44% of respondents said that they're really relying on their suppliers in order to help them deliver their sustainability goals, and that sustainability will actually play into their selection of suppliers. So maybe you guys could speak a little bit to how you work with your supply chains on these issues. Maybe Mawuse, you first.
Yeah, so I would say we definitely have quite rigorous process that's always evolving as well. So one of the things we do, it's really all about collaboration. So we work with typically around 4 different factories, and we will agree with them on certain KPIs that we think we can both align on when it comes to all the different processes, and then we'll also give them time to reach those goals. So it's not necessarily us saying like, it needs to be done this way. It's very, very much collaborative. And then we also do audits every 2 years, and Camper's also B Corp certified. So of course we comply with all of those standards, but we also have our own internal sustainability rigor and system as well. Because B Corp is an excellent organization, but it's not necessarily all that specific for fashion, right? So we have to be a little bit more intentional in that space. So yeah, it is really about having this conversation and making sure we're getting to these goals, and making sure that we're committing to goals that we know are achievable. So that it's like a constant dialogue, I would say, again. And then when it comes to our material suppliers, there we really try to be quite intentional, like how we select the materials. Over 90% of our leathers our leather working group certified, and again, working with recycled cotton, organic cotton, making sure, because we can also have a bit more control over that aspect. But when it comes to the factories, this is, frankly, a bit of a challenge, because it's not necessarily, part of our business. We really just have to work hand in hand together.
So you're talking about co-manufacturing facilities, essentially, that
Yes.
you're using. Yeah, but the material suppliers in particular, and those getting your hands on those sustainable ingredients is really key.
Yes, it's both. It's both. Yeah.
And what about you, David?
So we like to call our suppliers partners because we see them as a seamless extension of our Who Gives a Crap family. And we really believe in that ethos, and we select suppliers and partners that have that same ethos of doing good for the world, and really, we're looking for good human beings that want to make a difference in the world when we select our supply partners. And a good example of that this past week, amidst the hurricane ravaged North Carolina and the Southeast, as we were sending about 40,000 rolls into North Carolina of toilet paper to help in that process. Our 3PL partner, without us even asking, covered all the transportation costs for the trucks that were moving the product down there because they want to be involved and they want to have a part in that. So that's, I think, the ethos that our supply partners carry over with us, and we really appreciate that engaged involvement because that seamless collaboration is important internal, but it's also very important with your external partners to have that same level of teamwork, the same type of dialogue, the same language choices that you use with your coworkers. I use the same language with my supply partners because it's very critical for them to be just a part of the family for us.
Yeah, fair enough. And what about, what's one of the more challenging aspects with your supply chain? Like where do you find that you get stuck the most in terms of trying to get to that sustainable result and you're just kind of getting stuck with a particular supply area?
And for us, it's probably, we have a big energy footprint because of tissue making, as I described. So it's doing things like getting our supply partners to join with us and finding ways to use renewable energy sources, integrating electric vehicles into the delivery process of we're a D2C primarily company. We do exist in retail space, but that's recent. In the last 2 years, we're the #1 D2C toilet paper brand in the world. And so if you're somewhere like Australia, here in the US, it'd be equivalent to like a Charmin in terms of brand awareness and knowledge that people have. But we're in that D2C space. We do a lot of home deliveries, and so EVs and those type of activities it's very important for our supply partners to bring those capabilities to bear for us.
Fair enough. And Mawuse, what do you think? You mentioned that the co-manufacturing facilities, the factories, that's one of your kind of pain points. That's kind of the hard. What do you think's so difficult about that, and what could maybe unlock that process a bit for you guys?
Well, I think a part of it is that the way that we assess the compliance is not only quantitative, but also qualitative, right? So, when we do our factory audits, if they say we have, 5 exits or whatever, but when you physically go, maybe 2 or 3 of them are blocked, right? And so it's a lot of these things that you really have to check, and we do a lot of surveys with the employees and really getting their understanding, like, do they have work-life balance? Do they have all of these things that, are so key? And so qualitative measurement sometimes is a little bit more challenging. You have to, be on the ground, see how it works. And I think it's a good challenge, right? The slogan that we have internally is, when it comes to sustainability, is a little better, never perfect, right? So there will always be things that we need to double check. There will never just be like a really simple rubric because we're working with people, not only just products. So I think that's just part of the game, I would say. Really making sure that we're really doing what we say we're doing.
Yeah, and thank you for reminding us that it's not only about the environment, it's not only about the environmental impact, but also about the people, the workers. That social sustainability aspect is so key to have working together at the same time toward those goals. Well, I'm going to pretty soon open it up to 1 or 2 audience questions. So get your questions ready for these guys, and I'm going to ask them something fun while you're thinking about those. So you guys are both from amazing companies, and I wonder if you could just share your funniest or kind of coolest, lighthearted moment. It doesn't have to be about sustainability, absolutely could, but just give us a flavor for your company culture, your how your company works. Share with us a cool, funny story. And David, we'll go to you first.
Sure. 2 things came quickly to mind. One, talking about renewable energy. I challenge any of you to share something crazier than this, but we got one of our supply partners, one of our warehousing partners in Australia that's right next to an airport, so that you're right in the flight path looking at the rooftops. We got them to spell with their solar panels as they installed, "We give a crap!" ! With their solar panels on the roof, so you can see that as you're flying in, to help spread the news. And then a crazy thing we did here in the U.S. For the last 2 Valentines, we've ran a Flush Your Ex campaign, and we asked our customers to send in their old love letters, the things that they no longer want to have taking up space in their brains and in their closets. And we took those letters, and I got to drop them into a vat of recycled pulp, and we turned it into toilet paper and gave them final closure. So
I absolutely love that. It sounds like our audience does. Great examples. Great examples. You have to have fun while you're doing this work, right?
exactly.
What about you, Mawuse?
Okay, I don't know if my examples are fun, but we have a take back program, or like a recycling footwear program. We collected around like 14,000 pairs last year, and we have like bins in all of our stores. So one of the things that we're trialing is to make those bins out of shoes themselves, exactly. So that's kind of like a silly, goofy thing that we're doing.
That is very cool. That is very cool. And maybe one last follow-up question for you, because you mentioning this recycling of shoes. When we were talking earlier, you talked about sort of Gen Z and how excited they are about this kind of product, this kind of work. Can you talk a little bit more about that before we turn it to audience questions?
Yeah. I think that was one of the surprises I would say we had for Camper. Again, because we're a company that's almost 50 years old, and this shoe, this style Kobara, really resonated with young people. So like if you go on TikTok, this is the shoe that everyone's wearing, and sometimes they don't even clock that it's Camper, because they'd be like, oh, I've kind of heard of that brand, and we're known for really, really like specific silhouettes, but this one people will be like, and it's also unisex, so men, women, and non-binary people, everyone can wear it. But this is a shoe, like when you really look on Insta and you look on TikTok, they're all about this shoe. And it's amazing because it does have this strong sustainability story behind it. But they just gravitated toward initially because it's kind of an insane looking shoe, and and it's kind of comfortable. Like for heels, it's pretty comfortable as well. So
Excellent. Okay, what about these audience questions? Raise your hand. Okay, we've got one here, and I'll take two at the same time if we have another.
I'll warn you two, for the first participant, I'm gonna toss you a roll of toilet paper.
Oh, you get a roll of toilet paper.
How's your catching skills? How's my throwing skills?
Okay, so we'll take one here, and then we'll answer. Okay.
Great, thanks. So I'm from Mars Wrigley. The question that I have is two-part. How do you quantitatively measure your sustainability impact yourself? And going back to suppliers or partners, how do you ensure the authenticity of the sustainability data shared by your partners?
Great. Okay, and we'll take one more question up here. Got the mic coming for you, right up here, right front row. Yep. Gets off.
Is that better? All right. Regarding the toilet paper, I think that's an amazing thing to solve for. It sounds like you guys solve for it on the quality side and the functionality. I'm assuming the cost to the consumer is going to be a premium compared to regular. And okay, I'm gonna say if you were to get, and I think Walmart's here, like if you were to get more private label manufacturing, if they were to buy into it and just get more volume, would that help drive the price down? But it sounds like maybe you already solved the price part.
Great. Well, there's kind of three questions in there then for you guys to respond to. So one on what you use as your metrics to measure sustainability. And I used to work for Mars, so I know Mars has a huge focus on data, how you assess that your suppliers' data is accurate, and then this question on price. I think that's three really great questions. So Mawuse, why don't you start?
Okay, so yes, I would say again we're B Corp certified. Both of our companies are, and so that has like very, very detailed process in terms of how we are impacting the environment. And this is not only from a manufacturing perspective, but also social, making sure like we're a responsible business as well. Also making sure we're taking care of our employees. So I think that's a pretty straightforward rubric. Then again, we also have our own internal system, and that's often really based on the materials as well and the production process. So we grade typically from A to D. I don't think there's any D anymore, but most of our styles are B and better. And if you're B, that means like you have around 80% recycled or sustainable materials. So if it's made from like the manufacturing process is like lower emissions. If there's like a certification when it comes to the material, leather working group, things like that, organic certified. So we tend to kind of cross these two, but our internal system is a bit more specific. Then when it comes to how we're, I guess, validating that data, again, we also will work with system. It depends on the process, but we'll often do like self-verification. So we'll send them a survey or something like that, and then they'll send us the info, but then we will go in and then audit. So then we'll also check as well. So there's different ways to double check everything, but it's a lot of the audits will literally be going to the factories or seeing with our own eyes how it works, and we use a mix of like internal and third-party support for that.
David?
To the first question, we do what everybody else does in terms of measuring our footprints, and we do things like offsetting our delivery costs so that our customers can have a guilt-free delivery experience, because that's an energy-intensive process as well. But probably bigger picture, instead of talking about profit, revenue, GM, all those kind of things that we talk about, but we measure our impact and how many toilets did we put into the world this past year, which is really refreshing, having been in a lot of other places where you're so focused on, counting beans, but we get to count toilets at the end of the day. And how, what was our impact of all the effort that we put together, on top of doing all the right things for measuring and reducing and making sure that we're staying, doing our part. To the question about affordability, the gentleman who has our roll in his hand can attest to it. It's a pretty substantial roll. We do at least double length rolls in all our products. So toilet paper math is super hard if you've ever been on the grocery aisle in that sea of plastic, I'll just say that. But you're trying to figure out, which is the most economical toilet paper to buy. It's really difficult, and people make it difficult to sell toilet paper. But for us, it's important to keep the price reasonable. It's definitely not the cheapest product in the market because it is a high quality toilet paper that we try to produce, as well as our tissue and paper towels. But it competes very well with all the major brands when you look at the actual dimensions of the product, the sheets, and how many sheets you have to use per use, all those crazy things that we talk about at work. And so it's a very economical but ecological choice as well in the process. So for me, I've been in the toilet paper world now for 2 years, and used to be a Cottonelle fan. I'll say that out loud. But I use our bamboo product because I love it. To me, it's stronger, it's softer, and the right attributes that work for me. But toilet paper is also one of those intimate products where everybody has their preference. So we understand that, but we try to make it available in an affordable way that people can use it. So,
Excellent.
thank you for the question.
Yep, thank you. Yep, excellent way to sort of wrap us and bring us back to that. Let's see, is there any more back here? Yeah, there's a few more back here. If you guys can tackle them later. But yeah, I think that was a great way, David, to bring us back to this idea of building value into the brand, because we really are, through these products, capturing some additional value through this work. And at the same time, it still has to be accessible and affordable for people. But I think we're seeing that increased demand and that increased recognition of valuing that extra piece of sustainability in the product. So with that, let's give our panelists a round of applause.